Still looking at groups frequency. We want to make sure that you can estimate a mean. So the first couple of questions are actually ones that we were looking at last lesson. So I think you ought to be relatively okay with these. So we'll just do them together so we can move on to the others. Work out the number of pupils and the asked. 22. How'd you get it? Add up the frequency. So we've got 22 students. Work out the mean number of coffee cups drunk. How do you do it?
List it like you do and add the and then you add up those since the frequency could mess up a lot of write it all out like.
So we need to write it all out, or what do you think?
Or you multiply.
You multiply the frequency by
Yeah.
the number of
Because we need to add up the number of cups, don't we? So, exactly. So we have got 1 lot of 2 cups, 3 lots of 3 cups, 5 lots of 4 cups, 8 lots of 5 cups, 5 lots of 6 cups. So in total that's 2 cups, 9 cups, 20 cups, 40 cups, and 30 cups. So in total, we add those together, 70, 90, 99, 101. So we've got 101 cups, and we divide by 22. And what do we get? Do we need a calculator? Pardon?
4.3, 4.4.
Tell me. 4.59. 4.59 coffee cups. Okay, easy enough. Same one, but this time, what is the modal number of goals scored? 1. How do you know? The most frequent, yeah? So 9. Common mistake, by the way, I don't really want to add this to your notes, is to say that 9 is the mode. Yeah, it's a common. You just look for the highest number and that's what you write down, when it's not. That's the amount of the actual number. We don't have a 9 goals scored. We only have a maximum of 4 goals scored. 1 goal was scored 9 times, so that's the most common one. Okay. Work out the range of goals scored. 3 because it's 4 minus 1, so the maximum is 4. The minimum was 1, so 4 take away 1 is 3. Work out the mean number of goals scored again. So we've got 9 lots of 1, 3 lots of 2, so on. So that's 9, 6, 15, 12. We add them together. What do we get? 42. Anyone verify that for me? No. Yeah. So the mean would then be 42 divided by, what's the common mistake? Yeah, divide by 4. So we actually want to do 42 divided by 9, 10, 12, 20. So 42 divided by 20 is 2.1. Okay. All right. Now, this is what I want to move on. So those ones should have been okay, a bit of a recap. So, maybe you already know how to do this, but we've got Bob asked 40 friends how many minutes they took to get to work. The table shows some information about his results. Can you just interpret that table for me? What does it mean?
Maybe 20
Yeah, it's basically that. So somewhere between 0 and 10 minutes, 3 of his friends took to get to work. Yeah. Can I just ask you, what exact time did they take?
We don't know. Between like 0.01 and
Well, yeah, you're right, and Nick's right in that we don't actually know what time each 3 person took. Okay? They could be evenly spread between that group, they could all be at 10, they could all be at a couple of seconds. Alright? Realistically, where do you think they're likely to be?
20 minutes.
like 2, 5, 8.
Yeah, they're not going to be maybe 1 minute, are they? Because it's about getting to work. But we don't know. And that's the thing. So when we are asked the following question, work out an estimate for the mean. The thing that we want to understand is, why is it an estimate? And how do we do it? How do we add up some numbers if we don't know what the numbers are? You already know how to do this. And why would you do that? Well, it might not be the average, because we don't know what the numbers are. But it's a good place to start, and we do that. We take the middle of the group.
Oh yeah, that's what I was thinking. You take the mean of the group, add those up, and then.
But we can't. We can't take the mean of that group. We don't know those numbers.
The median.
Well, again, we can't actually take the median of the group because we don't know what the numbers are. But as Tatum said, what we do is we take the middle of the group. Why do we take the middle of the group? Well, it's because we want to minimise any error. Okay? So if we take the middle of the group, we get potentially as close to all the points that are in there as we can get without actually knowing what those numbers are. So if we take the middle, if all 3 of them are at 10, that's only half wrong, isn't it, from what we've said? Half the group wrong. But if I were to say, oh, let's use 0 as the group, if they're all at 10, we've got the maximum possible error. So what we're looking at is trying to minimise the amount of error in our decision. Right? Why is it an estimate for the mean and not an actual mean? Yeah, because you don't know the data, right? So you can only estimate. We don't know what those 3 people's actual times are. So we can only find an estimate of it. So when we work out an estimate for the mean, you are correct in that we take a midpoint. So the midpoint for the groups, okay, I can add a little bit on the table if I like. What's the middle of 0 to 10? 5. 10 to 20? 20 to 30 is 25, 35, and now be careful, as I think Greg asked last time, said about what if groups are different sizes, and they can change sizes, so make sure you don't fall into a pattern, oh, it's just 10 more every time, because it might not. Just double check. And then we treat that like the number that we were dealing with before. So we then do, well, there's 3 lots of 5, 8 lots of 15, and so on. Okay? So what's 3 lots of 5? 15. 8 lots of 15?
120.
11 lots of 25?
Oh, yeah,
275. 9 lots of 35? 15. 9 lots of 45? We've then got to add all those together. And we get 30. And we do 1,130 divided by, well, what's our total frequency then? 40. And we get 28.25. Let me just check. We ought to always check when we work out a mean we should validate it. Wrong use of the word, but verify, we can't necessarily verify it because we don't have another source of information to say are we correct or not. But we can look at it and go, is that a reasonable number to have achieved? And how can you say to yourself, I am sure that I've probably not made a mistake? You might have made a little one, but what should I check? What's a very kind of basic but easy check I can do to know that I'm not definitely wrong? Nick?
Well, you can see that the frequency is like kind of the modal timetable is between 20 and 30 and your guess is between 20 and 30.
Yeah, that's one way. I mean, you've gone a little bit more complex than I was even thinking of, actually. But you're right in saying that would be a sort of more detailed check. Yeah, it's going to be in the middle kind of group where most of it is, and probably skewed more to the top end because of the 2 9s rather than the 8 and the 3, so it's going to be pushed up a little bit. But an even more basic one is to say,
The range is 15 by dividing 50 by 2 up to 25.
yeah, what must it fall between? It must fall between 0 and 50 is what I'm thinking. Yeah? I mean, even that basic, okay? If it's, I mean, it's not going to be less than 0 unless I've done something really wrong. But quite often people get an answer that's more than 50. Just because they make a mistake on the calculator or they forget to divide, or if I divided by 5, which is the number of groups, which the number of people do, what would my answer be?
200.
Yeah, so that would just be completely wrong. But people don't spot that. They don't. You look at it. The mean. What is this number? Interpret it for me. What does it tell me? What does that 28.25 mean? Yeah.
The average time.
The average time taken.
Wait, I was going to say, so that means no, that doesn't mean that you know someone.
No, it definitely, that's why it's still an estimate, but that's why it can't be more than 50, because no one took more than 50. All right? So the average to represent the whole group cannot be more than anyone took. You have a point? No? Okay. So when we work out an average, it has to be somewhere between the minimum and the maximum. If it's outside of that, we've got something wrong. Yes, Nick? Okay. I'll sort it out. So. All right, so that's it. Calculate an estimate for the mean. That's an important one for you to be able to do. State the modal class interval. Which one is it?
One greater than 20 years, but less than 30
minutes. Yeah, 20 to 30. So it's that one. Modal class. That's it. Find the group containing the median. Remember how to do that? So, should we go through it just a quick? So this would be, okay, good. This would be 20 to 30. What's the group containing the median? How do you do it? Tina? Yeah. Yeah. So if we do cumulative frequency, so the cumulative frequency, sorry, is what? So we've got 3, then 11, then 22, and then 31, and then 40. Okay? So the median of 40 things is, so we do 40 plus 1 divided by 2 gives me 20.5. So that means I need to find the 20th and the 21st numbers. Remember then that? So the 20th and the 21st numbers just happen to be in this group here, isn't it? the 20 to 30. And how does that reflect? So the 20th and 21st are going to be quite high up in that group, aren't they? Because they're the latest numbers. Does that make sense with what we looked with the mean as well? Sort of makes some sense, yeah? Even though we don't know the numbers. So the group containing the median is actually the same group as the modal class, and it's the same group as the mean would be in. It's all quite nice. Okay? Any questions on that?
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you go over? So you see that weighted 40 plus 1
Yes.
divided by 2. Why do you do that?
Well, I've got to find the middle number. Yeah? So what's the middle of 40?
20.
It's not. That's the thing. So just to, it's a common thing for people to say, but what's the middle of 6? So you would say 3 because you find it by dividing by 2. Yeah. So if I just put 6 things, if I divide it in 2, I get 3, yeah? But the middle is not 3, is it? It's halfway between the third and the fourth number. What's the middle of 5 things? That's the middle. Okay? So I know it's the third thing. Alright? So a way to do it is to, if I want to know, I add an extra point in the middle. Alright? So that's the plus 1. And then when I divide by 2, so that gives me the extra point in the middle, and that would give me 3.5. Alright? Because I'd have 3 and half of that extra 1, and 3 and a half. So that gives me, so I know if I end up with 3.5, I know I've got to find the middle of the third and the fourth numbers. And if I've got 5 numbers, I do the 5 plus an extra point, and then if I divide that by 2, I get the third number. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So it's just a useful way of finding which numbers I'm supposed to look for when I'm finding the middle number. Because it is a common thing to say divide by 2 gets me the middle, and dividing by 2 gets me 2 equal amounts. It doesn't find the middle. Alright? Okay, well I'll let you carry on with the rest of those questions. And a few just for practice. Doesn't get any more difficult than that.